For more on that, let's bring in Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, welcome to the program. Let's begin with your initial reaction to this UN expert's assessment that some of the crimes linked to Jeffrey Epstein may meet the threshold of crimes against humanity.
Well, I absolutely agree, but I would commend the United Nations to have a closer look, because in many ways, this is not about Jeffrey Epstein. Anybody that's seen the Steve Bannon interview, the 2-hour one, which was released, which was filmed just before the death of Jeffrey Epstein as part of this latest release, will probably understand that he was expendable. I think the main operators of this, at the Epstein operation, if you can call it that, with the sort of honey trap that was bringing in all sorts of people to be compromised, compromat, etc. And also the plans, such as one which was looking at overthrowing Vladimir Putin, which were being organized from the Epstein accommodation by Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of the focus is on him, but you can see through his discussions that he appears to be talking much more freely than he should be, Steve Bannon, about what's happening. If he's someone who's really one of the top conspirators, and I think actually that interview may have even been the one to get him killed, because even though it was never transmitted, obviously Bannon would have shared it with people. I think the main people running that were the intelligence services and Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, is still alive, and in a way, Jeffrey Epstein was another victim of Ghislaine Maxwell and of the intelligence services running it. So I think the other thing that I would say is it's not just about women victims, female victims. Many of the men have been victims, but some of them, I think it's fair to say, were willing victims. One of the things I've read in these accounts is a willingness of people to come along, even though they seem to be a bit suspicious about the Epstein household, because they see other people going to visit Epstein and then getting promotion into high politics, high finance as a result. And so it seems to me that people went to visit Epstein not for any other reason as to further their careers. So there are many aspects to this, but certainly there are many, many male victims as well. Those who've had been compromised, now most likely in positions of power, who can't say or do what they want. One of the most extraordinary revelations was one about a threesome, allegedly, where 3 were in a bed together. And one of those apparently was a British Prime Minister. Now, this is how amazing that these revelations have been. And the suggestion is here that somebody like Tony Blair could have been blackmailed into going along with the Iraq war, the illegal Iraq war, because there was information that would have compromised him, and he would have been very embarrassed if it had been on the front page of the newspapers. So that's my message to the United Nations, and I don't think we need another investigation. There's been an enormous amount of work done on this already by investigative journalists like me to uncover the links to the Israeli Secret Service, the Mossad, who were also running Ghislaine Maxwell's father. So this is not an Epstein operation. I think it's a Maxwell operation run by the Israelis.
Mr. Gosling, based on what you're saying, given the scale and alleged transnational nature of these crimes, why haven't we seen broader arrests and prosecutions beyond the individuals that are already charged right now?
Well, that's a really good question. Arrests should have taken place, particularly here in Britain, with Peter Mandelson, who's the man responsible for selecting most of the new candidates for the Labour Party, who are now members of Parliament, that were brought into Parliament in 2024 in the landslide Labour victory, were chosen by Mandelson. And yet he is also shown to have committed serious crimes. The evidence, prima facie evidence, has been published by the Department of Justice in the United States that he was doing insider dealing, that is to say, using information that he had as part of the government to enable people to make millions, potentially billions of pounds or dollars on the markets by telling them what the markets were about to do. So this is a serious crime, up to maybe even 40 years in prison, and also, of course, spying. So taking this government information and passing it to foreign powers. So that is malfeasance, misconduct in public office, which is up to life in prison. So there are very big questions about who it is that's protecting Peter Mandelson, the former Lord Mandelson. Now, this has got to be, I think, either or both the Crown, that is to say, King Charles, and the Crown in this country. We still have a monarchy here, I'm afraid, and also, of course, the powerful City of London bankers who have a lot of sway in this country. And so he's definitely being protected, and possibly by the intelligence services too. So the idea really is this proves we no longer have a rule of law. Even the most serious crimes, people can walk away from without actually even being arrested.
And my final question, before I let you go, Mr. Gosling, this is a chicken and egg question. What do you think happened first? I mean, did people who go to Epstein Island got prominent figures, became famous because they went to the Epstein Islands, or was it the opposite?
Well, look, this is another good question, because I think there were several people who were taken to Epstein Island and visited his homes who were not actually involved in any kind of crime or child abuse. It was necessary for Ghislaine Maxwell and the intelligence service, the Mossad, running this operation. It was necessary for them to have bait. So in other words, they wanted to have people who had credibility and were interesting intellectuals in order to come along to bring them in, to give them a kind of, if you want, a kind of street cred. And so I think we have to be very careful in accusing everybody that went either to the island or Palm Beach or New York townhouse as being in some way involved in this abuse of children. Not necessarily, because this is the way you build a reputation as an interesting person to go and visit, is in that way. So yes, you're absolutely right. I think some people actually gained their credibility through this. And in fact, in this interview with Steve Bannon, Jeffrey Epstein himself talks about his rise to fame and power, which was largely through the Rockefeller Center. And we've even had revelations in the British press here, in the local newspapers, would you believe, not in the national press, that there was a country house in Wiltshire where Jeffrey Epstein actually got his job. So this is not about democracy. This is about business taking over from the voters in running countries. And it's also about cliques running countries, friends of friends, making sure they're appointing their mates to these top jobs. And really, the public and the voters are completely shut out now, I think, in most parts of the Western world. And that's been revealed, I think, pretty fully. I don't think we can go back from the latest lot of revelations from the Epstein files at all. And as I said, many people, I think, we know and we see them in the news from day to day over here, are compromised, are being blackmailed, and that's actually why they've got these top jobs now.
Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.